Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our latest Power Hour, and that is now maximising value for pupils. And this time we are going to be talking and taking you through the DfE Energy for Schools service. May I have the next slide, please? Just a little bit of housekeeping before we go into the subject. Please put any questions that you'd like to ask into the Q&A. Now, we can't answer specific questions about a trust or a school or a local authority, but we will take those questions, we'll have a look at them if they're a little more complex. We can't publish similar questions, but please upvote any of the questions that you think, oh, I'd like to know about that one. And then the team that are with me, they can have a look at those and then we'll be able to answer them. You will get a copy of the slides. It's also being recorded and that session will be available on the Education YouTube channel. So you'll get notified that that's available for you to watch, and anybody else who wasn't able to attend today. Just at the end, there are two quick help us to improve surveys. They give us your feedback and your insight, but very quick, couple of minutes each. So thank you very much. Now I'm going to hand over to Belle Pennington to take you through the rest of the session. She is head of DfE's Energy Service for Schools.
Thanks, Helen. So good afternoon, everybody. As Helen said, I'm Belle Pennington, and I've had the real pleasure over the last 18 months in setting up this DfE Energy for Schools service, right from the pilot through to the service that it is today. So welcome. Next slide, please. So I think I just wanted to do a little bit of recap, really. Helen introduced us as part of the Maximising Value for Pupils programme, which I know you all have heard about in terms of that. So obviously just the four key headers in relation to this programme and how we as DfE Energy for Schools sit within this programme. So the four key elements are obviously about maximising value and about how we work as DfE with you to invest in the school system and get some greater value so that we deliver improved outcomes and there's more money for outcomes to children going forward. We see this as a shared endeavour as all participants within the system. It's not something that we can do our own, and we recognise it's not something that out there in the sector you can do on your own. But coming together, we can definitely all make a difference in that space and create further opportunities to go further. Thirdly is about this tackling systemic issues in terms of that, recognising some of the barriers and trust that you face in terms of trying to get the best out of your budgets in terms of that in today's climate around that. And again, bringing together our collective power should definitely help make a difference to delivering those outcomes for pupils. What we really want to do is make sure that we're providing support for schools so that we equip schools and trusts with the data and insights so that you can identify opportunities more readily to secure that better value. Alongside doing that, it's elements that we're looking to do within the commercial pillar of the programme as well. And DfE Energy for Schools is one of these flagship programmes that we've put in place to help support you out there. Next slide, please. So what's DfE Energy about? I thought I'd just recap a little bit on about our history and our journey and where we've got to so far before handing over to Annette, who will talk a little bit, who provide more detail about what the service is actually there and what it offers out to you. So it's one of the key solutions, as I've just said, under the programme. And actually, why did we pick energy? So we recognise from some research and some engagement out there with yourselves in the sector that there's complexity in buying energy. There's lots of varying factors, lots of choice for schools. And often we know that from our research that you were approached by brokers and maybe some of those that are more unregulated and don't necessarily offer the best deal for you. We know that energy spend increased by 0.6 billion to 1.5 billion, and that was over a period of 3 years. So quite a significant increase in a short space of time. We obviously understand why that's happened, and understanding more about the energy market and the volatility as to why that's happened. So just to give a few examples of the market factors, it's things like the geopolitical events. I think we can all relate to the fact that the Ukraine war played a significant impact on our energy contracts and the cost of energy to us at a time as we were approaching winter. Long-term weather forecasts, believe it or not, that's one of the things that they consider when they're buying energy. So, for example, if the long-term weather forecast is expecting a mild winter, then there's less need to store gas, and that actually influences the price that we pay. If we have a sudden turn, the price shoots up in terms of that. And also renewable energy. We know that that's a big part of it now. And what is that renewable generation outturn going to be? So there's just a couple of factors that impact on the price of our energy and what we pay in terms of that. That obviously links with the timing of the contract and the contract start dates for yourself, and also at what point are you looking to secure your future energy supply? What we have learned is that the earlier we start to look at that, the greater the options and the greater the choice, and actually the better choices in relation to accessing baskets that protect you from market volatility and reduce the risk to yourselves. And this is because that if you look in the short term or just before your contract expires to buy your energy, you pay the energy price as it is on that day. What we have seen is obviously brokers, when the price is low, we know that they will actually reach out to you and put pressure on you to make decisions to buy and agree to sign up to that contract at that date so that you can get that price. What that doesn't tell us is the price might go down on the day after. Again, Annette will talk more to you about the V30 basket, which is part of the DfE Energy for Schools service. One of the benefits of planning ahead is obviously it mitigates the risk in terms of the prices. It helps ensure you get the best deal, and it also provides insight and understanding so that you can protect against that price volatility. And I guess more importantly, it allows you as schools and trusts to make informed decisions about which is the right energy supplier for you. In our initial research as part of the pilot, we identified that there was a high reliance on third-party intermediaries, and they take responsibility with an understanding that and a perception out there that brokers get better prices than schools direct from suppliers. We also know there's a lot of varying transparency of service in terms of that, and competitiveness, easy for me to say, in the offers and in the markets, with schools being seen as a great opportunity for some of these companies. These were all parts of our initial research that we wanted to come up with a solution about how we could support and protect schools from the exposure in this market. So where did we get to? There was 4 key areas for me in relation to the pilot. It was about exploring opportunities to how can we do things differently to support you as a sector? What are the ways of working that we could put in place, and adopting a review and learn. So pretty much the agile approach, what works, what doesn't work, and mature as we go through delivering this service. If I look back on where we are today compared to where we were when I first took up this post nearly 2 years ago, we've achieved so much and developed the service quite considerably since that my first week, shall we say. What we found that is really important for yourselves out there in the sector is that actually we're on point to help support on those escalations and help resolve those more knotty issues for you, recognising that in the relationships that we've built with the suppliers and as well with yourself, we can actually use our power as the department to help resolve those issues and actually find root causes and solutions to prevent others from experiencing it again as the service matures. Obviously, we are partnering with Crown Commercial, and as part of that, we work closely with them, and we've got a firm seat on their trading forum. So we understand what's going on in the market, what some of that forward look's going to be like, and also what are some of those opportunities that we can tap into with Crown Commercial and the suppliers themselves, and also more widely across government on that. So we've really put ourselves in a position for that cross-government collaboration, working together for the greater good of the sector. In terms of the suppliers, we're obviously working quite closely with them. And we've developed some really strong relationships in that space. We've invested a lot of time there to bring to life what DfE Energy for Schools is about, what our ambition is in relation to the service, and how we want to make sure we get the best for the sector, acknowledging some of the challenges that are in the sector you're facing from a financial perspective on there. Reassuring to hear that they'd all heard and were familiar with these challenges, and so were brought in to support us on that one. One of the other pieces is around that account management and service support, and I'm going to tie in there about reducing the burden as well. So by putting ourselves in this position to support you and understanding some of those common challenges and issues that may be experienced out in the sector, we are tailoring our support and our service to help make that simpler for you and address them and put solutions in there, again, to mitigate it for others going forward. But ultimately, part of this is about reducing the burden for your schools. So ultimately, the service that we've put in place one of the endeavours is to reduce the heavy lifting from yourselves, but provide you with some assurance in that space. So next slide, please. So I touched on just at the start of there about how we were in the pilot phase and how now we've moved under maximising value for pupils, that we are actually now a fully fledged service. Even though this is still early in our service delivery days on that one, we have an ambition to deliver quality customer service, expand, iterate and grow as the needs of yourselves changes, and we want to change with you in terms of that. So just thought I'd pull out a few highlights here about what we're looking to do as we move forward now. So the service predominantly, we've been looking at onboarding, and again, Annette will give you a bit more about the onboarding and the whys and wherefores in those processes. We're looking to obviously expand that service out further, and we're doing some work with some public sector buying organisations as well that I know Chris will touch on further on in the process, because this is about how do we maximise those collaboration channels for us to get the best for you as the sector when it comes to buying energy. We want to have an ethos and drive continuous improvement through this service. So working with the suppliers and having that shared vision and developing a plan of how we want to get there and deliver the best for you. We have inbuilt that with the suppliers, and step by step, we are starting to move towards what our achievements are. I touched on about energy being really a complex piece. I definitely echo that one. And what we're looking to do is, again, through our relationship with the suppliers, is understand things that are happening in the market. Like, we know non-commodity charges is a hot topic, is how I'd describe it around that one. And some of that is driven by other parts of government as well. And what we want to do is build in and share teachings for you in an easy to understand language, because I'll hold my hand up, some of it we've had to interpret and get them to speak very simply to us, so that actually we can share some of these messages out, so you have a greater understanding about what is happening in the energy sector, and actually where do we want to go, and how does that help us shape our energy usage, best practice and efficiency in that area. We recognise that we need to do some more around the energy dashboard reporting. So within our service, everybody that signs up has access to their consumption data and billing data within a portal. What we want to do is start to use that data in a really intelligent way, so that we can actually target best practice consumption efficiency, like I was just saying. That is one of our next stages, and actually we would be welcoming some input from yourselves in terms of what would be useful for you in dashboard reporting that would help you drive better energy efficiency within your schools and across the trust. We want to identify those collaboration opportunities to drive that energy efficiency. So we're working out across the department. We've got links in with the sustainability unit. So recognising there is an ask on yourselves around the climate action plans and how does this all come together. So we're working closely with our sustainability unit, so that we can actually join all this up and ensure that we've got a cohesive and consistent message out to you. And then finally, I think We all know that in the last budget there was talk about decarbonisation of the estate, of the public estate, and solar, and LED lighting, and all those good things that help us move towards a carbon net zero. So one of those pieces working with the sustainability unit is about what are those approaches and solutions that we need to make sure are in place to support you on your own journey as we are going forward. So from my perspective, this is all a really exciting time, and it's been great to get this service off the ground and be working with the sector to actually help make a difference from an energy perspective and contributing to your wider plans in this space. So I think that's it from me. So now I will hand over to Annette. So thank you for your time.
Thanks, Belle. Can we go to the next slide, please? So good afternoon, everybody. I'm Annette. I work on Belle's team, and I'm one of the commercial leads on that team. So next slide, please. So I just wanted to sort of put a slide up around the executive summary, basically what the Energy for Schools service is in a nutshell. So it's a way that schools can buy energy safely and compliantly. We now are a fully established service, and we're open to all academies and maintained schools in England. So the Energy for Schools service is designed to protect schools from that energy market volatility that Belle has already alluded to, but also release any savings and capacity back to that front line. So you've got the central support to help you release that back into your schools. And that matters because energy is a complex area and the market remains volatile and susceptible to change. And also valuable leadership time is diverted away from educational priorities. So next slide, please. So our ambition was always to provide a single trusted national route that reduces risk, improves value, and also simplifies decision making for schools. And the main objective of the service has always remained the same, and that's to reduce the risk for schools. And that's twofold. So firstly, from that market volatility, but secondly, from unregulated third parties. And the energy companies themselves are regulated, but the brokers are not. And we have seen a spectrum of behaviour in terms of how brokers are approaching schools and supporting them. So another aim of the service is to reduce the administrative burden from schools and to try and simplify that process so that your time can be redirected to education. As we've already said, energy is a complex, high spend area, and you would require some sort of procurement process to appoint an energy provider. What you would be doing if you join the Energy for Schools service is you would be joining the central DfE contract, and that's a compliant route to market. And DfE would provide those wraparound services. So we would do the supplier and contract management, we'll support you through the onboarding and also be available as an escalation route. And although not one of the main aims, your school should achieve sustainable savings, not one-off wins. So as Belle alluded to earlier, we are working in partnership with Crown Commercial Service, and the reason we're doing this is that they buy energy on behalf of all central government. They have 20 years experience of trading energy. They're the largest energy buyer in the UK. And because they're a public sector organisation, they are obliged to publish their performance, and they have on average outperformed the market by 12% for the last 7 years. We have conducted quite a lot of benchmarking with both single academy schools, local authority maintained and multi-academy trusts, looking at their historic bills against what they would have been paying had they been on the DfE service. And we identified an average of 36% saving for those participating schools. So it's quite significant. Next slide, please. So energy is a systemic problem that individual schools can't solve alone. The illustration on the right just shows the spike in energy costs going back to 2022, which we're all aware of at the start of the conflict. And from the research that we undertook at that time, nearly half of the schools that we spoke to were coming out of fixed term contracts at the time, and they were subsequently signed up to higher cost long-term deals, and that's when the energy sector's energy spend significantly increased. So hence why government intervention in energy is not only helpful, but it's essential. The energy markets remain volatile and they do lack transparency, and schools have no formal protections in this market. So individual schools often lack the scale and expertise and risk appetite needed to navigate procurements in energy confidently, and that results in schools being locked into poor value contracts, facing budget uncertainty, and also suffering inequitable outcomes. It's generally the case that those with the least capacity are often the most exposed. So the DfE response is about using collective buying power, central expertise and scale to shift that risk away from schools, and also to bring in consistency across the sector. So the V30 basket, which is the one we are recommending, and basket is another word for contract, that's the one that we are recommending and the one which all central government uses. So we're mandated by Treasury to use that CCS framework. So energy is bought by CCS 30 months prior to delivery. So the 30 months prior to you actually receiving it. And they buy it when the market is at its most favourable. So when the market spikes, like it did in 2022, CCS just cease trading, wait until it stabilises, and then they catch up on the market. So CCS, they negotiate commodity costs. Belle mentioned it earlier about non-commodity costs. Non-commodity costs, which you'll generally know as standing charges, they include metering, distribution costs, government levies, etc. They're not negotiated by CCS. They sometimes make up around 60% of your bill, but it's the unit costs that you're getting the benefit of joining this contract. So the V30 basket, it's not necessarily the cheapest, but it is deemed the least risky product in the market. Next slide, please. So the pilot proved that the model worked. We engaged with around 4,000 schools to understand the challenges that the sector faced at that time and where the problems existed. And we've now got nearly 1,000 schools that have already transitioned onto our service that we are supporting. I've already mentioned about the benchmarking. Those that we benchmarked saw an average of around 36% saving based on their historic costs. And that was just clear evidence that aggregated national purchasing can consistently outperform local procurement. And you'll see the chart showing both gas and electricity costs were noticeably lower under the DfE arrangements. Next slide, please. So the operating model, there are clear roles, there are shared benefits, and it's a scalable national service. So how the model operates, so DfE acts as the contracting authority. So it's our contract, we have a contract with EDF and Total, we provide that central commercial expertise, supplier management and escalation route. So you would be joining the DfE Energy contract with EDF for electricity and Total Energies for gas, and that was procured compliantly via the Supply of Energy 2 framework with CCS. Schools retain autonomy over their budgets and their payments, but they're freed from that procurement complexity and the market timing risk. And then the system-wide benefits include consistent national data, better insight into your consumption and risks, and also, as Belle mentioned earlier, better alignment with net zero planning, which we can support you to achieve. So we've now moved to a national offer that any eligible school can access. So next slide, please. So just a little bit more about the V30 basket. So this is a risk managed long-term strategy, not speculative trading. So how it briefly works is schools' energy would sit within the V30 basket. And as I mentioned, it's forward purchased and it's flexibly traded 30 months in advance. So CCS buy across 30 months, not a single point in time, to smooth out those market peaks. And that reduces schools' exposure to price shocks and then brings that stability and predictability to help you manage your budgets better. It's important to emphasise this is a carefully risk managed approach designed for long-term value and not short-term price chasing. Next slide, please. So this is just an illustration of the commercial model and how it works. So it's fully compliant, centrally managed, and it's built around those strong supplier relationships. So DfE, as the customer, has a customer access agreement with Crown Commercial Service, and we also have contracts with EDF and Total Energies. So you would join our contract as a site addition, but you'd also have a non-contractual relationship with both suppliers. So supplier performance is monitored centrally with active relationship management at that national level. But you can take confidence from the fact that this is a fully compliant route, there's standardised terms, and there's that robust oversight of our suppliers. Next slide, please. So there are some straightforward access routes to allow you to access the service. It's simple to join. There's routes tailored to a school's circumstances. The process manages transitions from your existing contracts and is designed to keep the burden on schools to a minimum. So it should be relatively light touch from a school's perspective in terms of the information you need to provide. Importantly, schools remain responsible for understanding their local contractual commitments. So what contractual arrangements you've got currently. So if you're a local authority maintained school, you must seek approval from your local authority to move your existing contracts onto the DfE service. If you're already a CCS customer, you can novate your contracts onto the V30 basket at any point. We have a partnership with CCS. They're fully aware of the process and they're more than happy to support you to do that. Next slide, please. So there's clear onboarding steps which provide a safe, better value service. So if a school wants to join, here's what the process looks like. There are a small number of standard templates which we need to complete. So a letter of authority, and that just allows the DfE to act on your behalf. So we can complete all the documentation on your behalf and liaise with the new suppliers to ensure that true smooth transition. We also need to complete site addition templates, and there are two separate ones, one for gas, one for electricity. Novation forms, if relevant, if you are moving from CCS, we need to complete novation templates. You dictate your billing and consumption details. Obviously, if you're a 5% VAT school, then we need a VAT declaration from yourselves, and also just a simple portal access form to allow you to access both EDF and Total Energy's portals from day one. So you can input meter readings, you can see your consumption, and you can see your invoices. So EDF and Total Energies attempt the transfer around 4 to 6 weeks before your go live, and occasionally your incumbent supplier may raise an objection, and that's often due to not giving the requisite notice to terminate your current arrangements, or there's an outstanding balance on your account. So they can be easily resolved, but if you do decide to move over, it's just worth bearing those 2 points in mind. Next slide, please. So there is a quite strict opening window for the V30 basket. It opens in, the next one is April 27. However, if your current contractual arrangements don't align with that, then you can still join the school service. You would be placed on an interim rate until the next basket entry point, which, as I said, it's April 27. So the interim is just a holding position. It's called a bridging contract. It's a fixed term, so you would be on a fixed rate until the next opening entry point of the V30 basket, and then you would automatically transition onto the V30 basket without having to provide any more information. You can add additional sites at any time throughout the term of the contract. So if you're a multi-academy trust and you acquire new schools, they can go onto your portfolio at any point in time. The V30 basket is a rolling contract and it does have a minimum commitment period of 30 months. So if you did want to leave, you would have to provide termination 30 months prior to you actually wanting to leave. There are special circumstances where you don't have to provide 30 months notice, such as if your building closes or there's a change of tenancy, for example. Next slide, please. So finally, here's how schools can apply. So as Helen said, these slides will be circulated to you. So the links, if you follow the links in the slides, they should take you to the relevant pages. But we have more information and support available on our DfE Energy for Schools webpage, the Buying for Schools blog, and also we do have a dedicated service team who will support any further questions that you might have. Single schools and single academy trusts can apply through an online digital tool, so you can self-serve through that at your convenience. MATs, there is a short registration of interest form that we ask you to complete, and then our service team will contact you and walk you through the process. But the aim is to make us onboarding as simple as possible, and you've got guided support from start to finish, whether that be via the digital tool or our service team. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to cover the energy cost recovery service as well. So this is, sorry, next slide, please. You can pull, yeah, that's it. So the DfE run a procurement centrally, again via the CCS framework, and we appointed PCMG to deliver the validation of electricity and gas bills and carry out cost recovery services where any errors are identified. So all schools in England can benefit from this service. It's quick and easy to sign up. And PCMG will undertake an audit of your gas and electricity bills going back for the last 6 years. If they identify any billing or payment errors, they will seek to recover that money back to your school. It's no cost to you, as the contract operates on a commission-only basis, and that's only in the event of any cost recovery. So if they don't find any errors, you'll not be charged a penny. And you'll only be invoiced the commission when your funds are received back into your school. Next slide, please. So if you are interested in accessing the energy cost recovery service, you'll just need to complete an expression of interest form. And again, the link is in the slide. So on registration, you'll be issued a letter of engagement to complete and sign, and that formalises the agreement between yourself and the supplier. You'll also be required to sign an LOA, letter of authority, to allow PCMG to engage directly with your current supplier. So again, it should be relatively light touch in terms of what the school needs to provide to the supplier. They will do it on your behalf. So PCMG will gather the information they require and undertake an analysis. That can take up to 3 months, but then a report will be sent to you, and then any recommendations will only be actioned if you're happy for the supplier to proceed. So I think that's it from me. I just wanted to thank everybody for your time today, and I'll now hand over to Chris to talk through some of the additional benefits of joining the Energy for Schools service. Thank you.
Thanks, Annette. Can we go on to the next slide, please, Raj? Thank you. So, yeah, as Annette and Belle have said, there's various benefits to us being a central government department and our ability to leverage certain benefits and value outside that which is contracted with our suppliers, and provide access to additional services and additional initiatives that might not necessarily always be considered in a more traditional sort of transactional energy contract. One of the things that we are supporting as part of this initiative is a government-led initiative to upgrade the energy infrastructure, and that's to move to smart meters across all estates across the UK. Smart meters themselves deliver a series of benefits. It's technology that you've probably been exposed to in your domestic lives, but they provide more accurate billing. So they create the potential to move away from estimate billing, and you actually only pay for the consumption that you use. They save time. You certainly don't have to spend time doing meter readings. You manage your bills in that way. They provide access to data insights. So smart meters can support technology that provides more detailed consumption analysis. And one of the initiatives we have with our strategic suppliers, which I'll talk about in a moment, is the ability to analyze and look for potential savings and reductions in consumptions from schools through some quite clever analysis companies and tools that they have access to. It's a smart step to net zero. Again, linked to what I was saying before about those data insights, it allows us to see where peaks and troughs are in consumption and see if there's opportunities to reduce that consumption and ultimately reduce carbon footprints and move more towards that net zero position. And crucially, they are no extra cost. So as part of this initiative, you join the V30 basket, then the suppliers will automatically reach out to you to schedule the installation of the smart meters, and they'll do that at a time of your convenience, at a slot that you pick, so as to mitigate the impact on the school day, and make sure that services and power and stuff aren't turned off at a problem that's going to at a time that would cause you problems. Can we move on to the next slide, please? So I mentioned previously our strategic suppliers. So one of the approaches that we take to our commercial relationship as part of this Energy for School service is we run what's called strategic supplier relationship management. Now, some of you on this call will know a good bit about that, some won't. It is in essence looking to extract value from the relationship beyond that which is contracted. And we as DfE and that central government department, and through the CCS buying power that Annette was talking about previously, we're sort of uniquely placed to leverage that with our suppliers and take advantage of that strategic relationship and look for that additional value. There's a series of benefits for schools from that, which I'll talk about in a moment. A very obvious one recently is because of this relationship with Total, the gas supplier, they were able to run a social value fund that was available to our live service customers for them to secure a £5,000 grant from Total Energies. And this year, it was awarded to a school to build a forest school and a kitchen garden. And they provided a business case speaking about the initiative and how it would benefit the local community and create additional educational opportunities, not just for the kids, but also to bring the parents in and get more people involved in education for that community. And that was awarded to that school, and construction is due to start as the weather improves in the next couple of months. So that was something that we were really excited about and really happy to be able to leverage as part of that closer relationship, that strategic relationship with our suppliers. It also, by being on the basket and again being part of what is effectively the DfE contract, it allows us to expose schools to more of the supplier's wider group capabilities. And that's through what we would call value streams that we in DfE would manage. So I've already alluded to one of those. The suppliers they either own or have access to some quite detailed analysis companies that can do some really sort of focused look at consumption and look at those patterns, look at those peaks and troughs, and work on strategies that can help mitigate some of that and move us towards not just cheaper energy bills, but that net zero position. They also have opportunities for EV charging points. They're vastly experienced in solar and navigating funding, and all of these are the sorts of things that by being partners with our supplier that we can leverage, and we can open that conversation with them as DfE and do the legwork, work out the initiatives, work out the way forwards, and bring it to life for schools on your behalf. And of course, with those suppliers, they already have, as you know, the grid itself is looking at more clean energy and more greener strategies for providing electricity. But they also have additional technologies and additional capabilities that we're able to explore with those suppliers, because we have that more partnership style relationship, and it isn't simply transactional as per a more traditional contractual relationship. So yeah, that's another benefit of being on an aggregated service like this, by leveraging the power of a central government department with these large and very, very capable suppliers. So can we go on to the next slide, please? Thank you. So we are also working with public sector buying organisations down a similar vein, actually, to how we're working with our suppliers. The idea being that we create partnerships with those public sector buying organisations, and through those partnerships, we're able to review alternative energy offers to the V30 offer that we've been talking about previously on this call. And the reason we're doing this is because schools are a diverse community and have diverse needs from their commercial strategies and their commercial availability and their budgetary constraints. And so we recognise that some other offers out there in the market may provide good value for money or good service levels for schools that might suit that particular requirement in the school. So we're working with public sector buying organisations to assess their offers, to assess their frameworks, and then endorse them as part of the Energy for Schools service to get us to a point where there are a series of offers endorsed by the department that you as schools can look at and choose to be on, that we know through a series of analysis and specific benchmarking exercises that we would seek to undertake with the PSBOs to say these are reliable and good offers or energy strategies for you, the schools, to be on. And those offers will be signposted and advertised and accessible via the Get Help Buying for Schools pages. So pages that you're probably quite familiar with, or at least someone in your organisation hopefully is familiar with, because there's lots of stuff on there that can benefit schools. And the main reason for doing this is like I said, so PSBOs, similarly to us in many ways, but they can also leverage the energy market in different ways that create those benefits. So, you know, create different types of baskets, different contractual terms, and they have their own buying power and their own relationships with suppliers. And what we're seeking to do is to leverage those as well by working in partnership with those PSBOs and trying to drive value for schools in the energy sector. That is it from me. I hope most of that made sense from there. We've obviously got the Q&A open for questions. I think I'll hand back to Helen at this point.
Thank you, Chris. Yes, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Annette. And thank you, Belle. There may be plenty of questions coming in. While those questions are coming in and you are looking at them and answering the ones that you can, which we can carry on doing towards the end, can I just have the next slide, please, Raj? These are the slides that we said just at the end. If you have any questions that you think once you've got the slides, you will have the mailbox for the energy services team, but you can also drop questions through to the maximising value for pupils mailbox as well. As Belle mentioned, we have a blog on various things, but definitely energy is there. And we also have a LinkedIn page, which I'm hoping everybody on the call has actually signed up and followed us. Can I have the next slide, please, Raj? Now, this is where we really do want you to get involved, because what we need is your information, your insight. We can get better on the commercial sides and on what we can offer and what we can develop, but we need you to tell us. So what we would love on this side is just for you to say, I'm using these DfE tools because these work for me now. But also, what would make the biggest difference to your school or trust? Now, you will get these slides, so by all means, scan the QR code there, or just use the feedback link, which you'll be able to click into, and tell us honestly what we're not doing right, what you'd like to see, which would make the best difference for you if we could develop it. And the next slide, please, Raj. On a similar vein, this is a similar vein because, again, we want to give you a chance to make your ideas heard and make our services and tools stand out and be better for you and your colleagues. The energy service involved a significant amount of engagement with schools and trusts across the whole sector. And it's your experience and insight that has helped deliver what you see today. But we need your help to get better, do more. If you would like to help, and our researchers are willing to sort of have 15 minutes of your time, again, when you have these slides, or if I'm going slowly enough, please scan it now. Quite happy for that. Just scan the QR code and they will get in touch. They'll only get in touch if you say, yes, happy to help. I'll give you 15 minutes of our time. And if they think that it's relevant to your role, but there's lots of things in development across the DfE that they would like to speak to schools and trusts about. So thank you. Raj, I believe that is the end of our session today. So thank you very much for everybody here. You can close the slides if you wish. We can go to the Q&As and have a look. Is there any that the team would like to answer?
Sorry, Helen, I struggled to get off mute there.
That's okay, Chris.
We are answering quite a few of them in the chat.
Okay.
Some of the questions are quite bespoke and sort of unique to the people that ask them, so we're providing them as private responses. As far as general questions around the service goes, we have an Energy for Schools inbox, which and through that inbox we provide an FAQ. We've got an FAQ document available for schools which has pretty much everything you could possibly want to know about our service. It's quite a meaty document, but it's quite navigable. It's a PDF and it allows you to click directly to questions and then back up to the top. So it's not something that you have to scroll through to look for your question and your answer. It's all available from the contents page. So yeah, we are just working through the questions at the moment. I don't think, just from looking at them, there's too many that we could possibly answer publicly. There's quite a few for us to work through.
Yeah, that's fine. What we will do for everybody on the call, we will, as I say, we will take the questions that have been published. We will have a look at those. The team can have a look at the other questions that have been put through to the Q&A. And unfortunately, on this particular Teams Power Hour, it's not available as a chat, but we will have a look at them. And as Chris has said, they have a frequently asked question document, which we can request so that it's sent out with the slides. So thank you, everybody, for attending. I always learn things when I come on this, and this is a brilliant one. So thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.